Yellowstone. The name itself conjures images of raw, untamed wilderness, a place where geysers erupt with primal force and bison roam free across vast, sweeping plains. It's a landscape that inspires awe, a testament to the enduring power of nature. But beneath its breathtaking beauty, Yellowstone also harbors a profound capacity for mystery, a quiet ability to hold onto its secrets with an almost tangible grip. For decades, one such secret lay buried, a whispered tale of adventure gone tragically awry, a chilling enigma that haunted the edges of the park's lore. In the summer of 1992, a young couple, brimming with the vibrant energy of life and a shared thirst for exploration, ventured into this wild heart. They sought the thrill of the unknown, the embrace of nature's grandeur, and instead they found themselves irrevocably lost, seemingly swallowed whole by the very wilderness they so admired. Their disappearance was absolute, a vanishing act that defied explanation, leaving behind only a void and a gnawing question mark that hung heavy in the air for 30 long years. Their story became a ghost tale, a cautionary whisper passed among those who knew the park's vastness, a chilling reminder of how quickly the familiar can become terrifyingly alien. It's a narrative that tugs at a primal part of our human experience, the fear of the unknown, the vulnerability we feel when faced with forces far beyond our control. Imagine their hope, their excitement as they stepped onto a trail, the world unfolding before them, promising adventure and shared memories. Now imagine that same landscape, silent and indifferent, absorbing their presence until they were no more. This isn't just a story about two people who went missing. It's a profound meditation on the delicate threads that bind us, the enduring strength of love in the face of unimaginable loss, and the humbling, often inscrutable power of the natural world. We've all felt that pull towards the wild, that desire to escape the confines of our everyday lives and immerse ourselves in something bigger, something elemental. This journey will take us from the hopeful dawn of their adventure, through the suffocating darkness of their unexplained absence, and finally to a discovery that, while offering a sliver of closure, simultaneously deepens the mystique surrounding their fate. The landscape of Yellowstone is not merely a backdrop, it is an active participant in this unfolding drama, its silent grandeur bearing witness to moments of profound human experience, both joyous and tragic. This particular story, dormant for so long, is about to be reawakened, not by a sudden dramatic event, but by the slow, persistent work of nature itself, revealing fragments of a past that time and wilderness had almost entirely erased. The discovery, made by dedicated rangers following a faint, almost imperceptible trail of evidence, is more than just the finding of lost belongings. It's the unearthing of a time capsule, a frozen moment that speaks volumes about their final days, their hopes, their fears, and the ultimate mystery that enveloped them. We are about to delve into a story that resonates with our deepest human emotions, exploring the fragility of life, the strength of connection, and the enduring enigma of a wild place that guards its secrets with unwavering resolve. The initial spark of their journey was fueled by a potent blend of youthful optimism and a burgeoning love, a desire to etch their shared narrative onto the vast canvas of the American West. This wasn't a casual vacation. It was a deliberate quest for experiences that would forge their bond, a testament to a generation that often sought authenticity and adventure beyond the confines of urban predictability. Their choice of Yellowstone, a park renowned for its challenging terrain and untamed spirit, speaks volumes about their aspirations. They weren't content with manicured paths and predictable vistas. They craved the raw, the elemental, the profound immersion in a landscape that demanded respect and offered unparalleled rewards for those willing to venture deep. This inclination to seek out the wild, to test oneself against the formidable power of nature, is a recurring theme in human history, a primal urge to connect with something ancient and awe-inspiring. Think of explorers of old, charting unknown territories, or the early pioneers who carved a life out of unforgiving frontiers. This couple, in their own way, were modern-day inheritors of that spirit. Their planned expedition, a modern echo of those historic quests for discovery and self-definition. Their itinerary, likely meticulously planned, yet ultimately subject to the unpredictable whims of the wilderness, represented a deliberate choice to step outside the ordinary, to embrace a narrative arc that promised both exhilaration and, as it tragically turned out, an ultimate test of their resilience. The very act of choosing to explore a place like Yellowstone, with its inherent dangers and vast, disorienting expanses, signifies a particular mindset, one that values personal growth through challenge and sees the natural world not just as scenery, but as a profound teacher. This was a journey designed to create shared memories, to deepen their understanding of each other through shared challenges and breathtaking discoveries. The tangible evidence of their planning, the maps consulted, the gear chosen, all represent a hopeful projection into a future that, for them, would be abruptly and tragically curtailed. Their story, therefore, begins not with their disappearance, but with their deliberate and spirited engagement with the wild, a conscious decision to seek out the profound, the challenging, and the beautiful, setting the stage for the ultimate mystery that would unfold. The sheer immensity of Yellowstone National Park, comprising over 2 million acres, presents a geographical paradox, a sanctuary of unparalleled natural beauty that simultaneously embodies an environment of profound isolation and potential peril. This vastness is not merely a matter of scale, it dictates the very nature of human interaction with the landscape. Unlike more managed or accessible natural areas, Yellowstone's wilderness demands a level of preparedness and respect that borders on the absolute. For the uninitiated, the seemingly benign expanse of forest or meadow can quickly transform into a disorienting labyrinth, where familiar landmarks dissolve and the sun's position offers little reliable guidance. This is a territory where cell signals are a rarity, where emergency services can take hours to reach a remote location, and where the elements, sudden storms, unpredictable wildlife, and treacherous terrain can shift from picturesque to life-threatening in mere moments. The park's geological activity, while a marvel of natural processes, adds another layer of complexity. Areas can be unstable, thermal features emit hazardous gases, and the very ground can shift without warning. Consequently, a venture into Yellowstone's backcountry is not simply a walk in the park, it is an undertaking that requires a deep understanding of survival principles, an acute awareness of one's surroundings, and a profound recognition of one's own vulnerability. The couple's decision to embark on their adventure in 1992, prior to the widespread adoption of modern GPS technology and ubiquitous communication devices, amplified these inherent risks. Their reliance on traditional navigation tools, while standard for the era, placed a greater burden on their skills and judgment. The wilderness, in its unadulterated state, offers no concessions to human error. It operates on its own ancient, immutable laws. The consequences of a misstep, a moment of disorientation, or an unforeseen encounter are magnified exponentially in such an environment. Furthermore, the psychological impact of such isolation cannot be overstated. The human mind, accustomed to the constant stimuli and social connectivity of modern life, can struggle to adapt to prolonged periods of solitude. The profound silence, broken only by the rustling of leaves or the distant call of an animal, can be both therapeutic and deeply unnerving. In the absence of external distractions, internal anxieties can surface, and the vastness of the surroundings can foster a sense of insignificance, even dread. For a couple on an adventure, this isolation could have initially been a bonding experience, fostering a sense of shared self-reliance and mutual dependence. However, if the situation devolved into one of being lost, this same isolation could quickly morph into a terrifying amplifier of fear and despair. The lack of external validation or reassurance, the absence of any discernible path forward, and the overwhelming scale of the natural world can create a psychological feedback loop where panic becomes a tangible, debilitating force. Consider how even a minor setback, like a navigational error, can escalate in such an environment. Without the ability to easily retrace steps or consult external resources, a small mistake can snowball into a crisis, with each passing hour increasing the psychological pressure. The wilderness, in this context, becomes not just a physical challenge, but a profound mental and emotional gauntlet. The couple's story, therefore, is not just about the physical act of disappearing. It's about the intricate interplay between human psychology and an environment that offers no easy answers. An environment where the very act of being lost can become an existential ordeal. The stark reality is that in these vast, wild spaces, the margin for error is razor-thin, and the consequences of even minor oversights can be catastrophic, leading to a profound silence that can endure for decades. The discovery of the couple's belongings in that hidden cave was not a singular event, but rather the culmination of a meticulous, almost archaeological process of piecing together fragmented clues. Rangers, driven by a persistent, low-probability lead, perhaps an obscure journal entry from a backcountry hiker decades prior, or an anomaly detected on a low-resolution aerial survey, initiated a series of targeted investigations. This wasn't a broad, sweeping search. It was a precise, almost surgical operation, focusing on a specific geographical area characterized by unusual geological formations or historical, anecdotal references. Imagine the painstaking effort involved. Traversing rugged off-trail terrain, navigating dense undergrowth, and meticulously scanning every crevice and overhang. The environment itself presented formidable obstacles, requiring specialized climbing gear, advanced navigation techniques, and an intimate understanding of Yellowstone's microclimates and geological stability. Each inch of ground examined, each shadow investigated, represented a commitment to uncovering a truth that had long been obscured by time and the elements. This dedication highlights a fundamental aspect of park ranger work. It is often a quiet, unglamorous pursuit of knowledge, driven by a deep sense of responsibility to both the land and the human stories it holds. The significance of the unearthed items extends far beyond their monetary or sentimental value. These were not simply discarded possessions. They were tangible remnants of a life interrupted, a narrative frozen mid-sentence. Consider the implications of finding a worn backpack, its contents still remarkably preserved by the cave's stable environment. A tattered map, its creases marking a planned route now rendered moot. A journal, its pages potentially filled with observations, hopes, and perhaps even growing anxieties. A camera, its film a potential window into their final days, a silent witness to their experiences. Each object serves as a powerful memento mori, a stark reminder of the fragility of human existence when confronted by the indifferent power of nature. The very act of preservation by the cave, a natural vault shielded from the harsh cycles of weather, underscores the passive role of the environment in holding on to these fragments of human history, waiting for their eventual rediscovery. This discovery, therefore, offers a profound insight into the couple's final moments, not through direct testimony, but through the silent eloquence of their personal effects, transforming a cold case into a deeply human story. The location of the discovery itself is a critical element in understanding the broader narrative. A hidden cave, by its very nature, suggests a deliberate seeking of shelter, perhaps during a sudden storm or an unexpected emergency, or even a planned resting spot that became their unintended final destination. The fact that it remained undiscovered for so long speaks to Yellowstone's immense capacity for concealment, its ability to swallow even significant human presence without a trace. This hidden sanctuary, while offering protection, also served as a final, silent repository, effectively sealing their story away from the outside world for 3 decades. The cave's geological characteristics, its depth, its entrance's obscurity, its internal microclimate, all played a crucial role in preserving the evidence, acting as a natural time capsule. This aspect transforms the landscape from a mere setting into an active agent in the unfolding mystery, a silent guardian of secrets that only yields them under specific and often prolonged circumstances. Moreover, the discovery prompts a re-evaluation of the initial assumptions surrounding the couple's disappearance. For years, theories likely ranged from tragic accidents like falls or encounters with wildlife to voluntary disappearances. However, the presence of their belongings, seemingly abandoned in a place of shelter, suggests a scenario more complex than a simple misstep on a trail. It hints at a prolonged period of being lost, a desperate search for refuge, and an eventual surrender to their circumstances within the confines of that cave. This nuanced understanding shifts the narrative from one of sudden tragedy to a more prolonged ordeal, emphasizing their struggle for survival and the psychological toll of being trapped and isolated. The discovery, therefore, doesn't just provide answers. It reframes the entire mystery, offering a more detailed and perhaps more poignant picture of their final days. This shift in perspective is crucial for appreciating the depth of the tragedy and the enduring power of the unknown that surrounded their fate. The couple's belongings, preserved within the cool, dry confines of the cave, offer a unique lens into the psychological landscape of being lost. Beyond the practical implications of their discovery, these artifacts serve as potent symbols of human resilience and the mind's desperate attempts to maintain a semblance of normalcy in the face of overwhelming adversity. Consider the implications of finding personal journals. These weren't simply records of daily activities. They likely evolved into intimate dialogues with themselves, spaces where fears could be articulated, hopes could be clung to, and dwindling resources could be meticulously inventoried. Such entries might reveal a shift in tone over time, from initial optimism and detailed observations of the surrounding wilderness to a growing urgency, perhaps even despair, as their situation became more dire. The act of writing itself can serve as a coping mechanism, a way to impose order on chaos, to externalize anxieties, and to maintain a sense of selfhood when external circumstances threaten to erode it entirely. Now, picture a well-worn map, its folds softened by repeated handling, perhaps marked with tentative routes or circled points of interest that were never reached. This map represents more than just a tool for navigation. It embodies a tangible representation of their plans, their intended journey, and the stark contrast between what they envisioned and the reality they encountered. The very state of the map, whether creased from constant consultation or tear-stained from moments of profound distress, can offer silent testimony to their mental state. Imagine the frustration and dawning realization as their intended path became increasingly irrelevant, replaced by the desperate search for any sign of civilization or a recognizable landmark. This physical artifact speaks to the intellectual and emotional struggle of trying to impose logic and direction onto an environment that defies easy comprehension. Furthermore, the presence of a camera, even if its film remains undeveloped or damaged, introduces a fascinating layer of potential insight into their final days. The act of taking photographs, even in dire circumstances, speaks to an enduring human impulse to document, to capture moments of beauty or significance, and perhaps even to create a record for posterity. If the film could be developed, it would offer a visual narrative, a series of snapshots that might reveal their physical condition, their surroundings at specific times, and the subtle shifts in their demeanor. This visual evidence, more immediate and visceral than written words, could provide an unprecedented glimpse into their lived experience, transforming abstract notions of being lost into concrete, observable realities. The very decision to pause and capture an image, even when facing immense challenges, highlights the complex interplay of instinct, hope, and the fundamental human desire to connect with and understand the world around them. This impulse to document, even in extremity, underscores the persistent drive to make meaning and leave a trace. The discovery itself, nestled within the geological embrace of a cave, profoundly alters our understanding of the couple's final days, shifting the narrative from a simple, lost in the woods scenario to a more complex tale of prolonged survival and shelter-seeking. This wasn't a fleeting moment of disorientation. The presence of their belongings suggests a sustained period within this natural refuge. It implies they found this cave, perhaps during a sudden downpour or an unexpected encounter, and made it their temporary sanctuary. The very act of choosing this spot, of setting up a makeshift camp within its depths, speaks to a conscious decision to endure, to wait out a perceived threat, or to find a more strategic point from which to reorient themselves. This transforms the cave from a passive repository into an active element in their story, a place that offered both protection and, ultimately, became the silent witness to their prolonged struggle. Now, consider how this might have played out. The initial relief at finding shelter, the careful rationing of dwindling supplies, the anxious scanning of the cave entrance for any sign of rescue or a break in the weather. Each day spent within those cool, damp walls would have amplified their isolation, the vast wilderness outside becoming both a source of potential hope and an insurmountable barrier. This extended period of confinement, hidden from view, explains the decades of silence, the complete erasure of their presence from the park's accessible trails and documented routes. The wilderness, in its immense scale, had effectively absorbed them into its hidden recesses. Furthermore, the specific geological features of the cave itself become crucial in deciphering the finer details of their experience. Was it a shallow overhang offering minimal protection, or a deeper, more extensive cavern system? The depth and complexity of the cave would have dictated the level of exposure to the elements and the potential for finding water sources, significantly impacting their chances of survival. Imagine the psychological toll of being confined to a small, dark space, the sounds of the outside world muffled and distorted, creating an unnerving soundscape. The cave's internal environment, its temperature, humidity, and air quality, would have been a constant factor, influencing their physical well-being and their ability to think clearly. The absence of sunlight would have disrupted their circadian rhythms, further disorienting them and potentially exacerbating feelings of anxiety and despair. This internal environment, a stark contrast to the expansive beauty of the park, becomes a microcosm of their trapped existence, a physical manifestation of their predicament. The cave, therefore, isn't just a location. It's an ecosystem that directly influenced the unfolding human drama within it, shaping their final days in ways we can only begin to surmise. The discovery of their belongings also prompts a deeper consideration of their final actions and intentions. The state in which these items were found, whether carefully arranged or haphazardly discarded, can offer subtle clues about their mental state and their level of awareness in their final hours. For instance, if their journals were found open to specific pages, or if certain items were deliberately placed together, it might suggest a final attempt to communicate, to leave a message, or to organize their thoughts in a structured manner. Conversely, a scene of disarray could indicate a more desperate or chaotic end. The presence of any tools, however rudimentary, might reveal attempts at signaling for help or devising escape routes from within the cave. Consider the ingenuity that might have been employed. using reflective surfaces to catch sunlight or creating smoke signals at the cave entrance. These actions, born out of a primal will to survive, paint a picture of individuals who, even in the face of insurmountable odds, refuse to surrender passively. The cave, in this context, becomes not just a tomb, but a stage for their final acts of defiance against the overwhelming power of nature. Finally, the very nature of a hidden cave as their final resting place emphasizes the profound duality of Yellowstone's wilderness. It is a place of breathtaking vistas and serene beauty, yet it also harbors hidden dangers and the capacity to conceal its secrets with an almost deliberate intent. This discovery underscores that the wilderness is not always a dramatic, open-air tragedy. Sometimes, its most profound mysteries are played out in the quiet, unseen spaces, in the geological folds that absorb sound and sight. It highlights how easily individuals, even those prepared and adventurous, can become utterly subsumed by the sheer scale and complexity of such an environment. The cave, a natural vault, preserved not just their belongings but also the enigma of their fate for decades, a silent testament to the wild heart of Yellowstone and its enduring capacity to hold on to its stories, revealing them only when the passage of time and the slow work of nature deem it so. The enduring mystery surrounding the couple's disappearance, now amplified by the discovery of their belongings, invites a deeper examination into the very nature of evidence and interpretation in remote wilderness settings. For decades, the absence of any tangible trace left the case open to a cascade of speculation, each theory as plausible as the last, yet none verifiable. This void of concrete data meant that the narrative was largely shaped by the psychological projections of those invested in the mystery, rangers, investigators, family, and the public alike. The human mind abhors a vacuum, and in its absence of factual anchors, it tends to fill the void with narratives that resonate with our deepest fears and hopes. Consequently, the couple's story likely morphed into a collection of ghost tales, cautionary fables, and romanticized notions of adventure gone awry, each iteration diverging further from the probable reality of their final days. The discovery, therefore, represents a critical pivot point, moving the narrative from the realm of pure conjecture into the domain of verifiable fact, albeit fragmented. Now the task shifts from imagining possibilities to meticulously interpreting the silent testimony of the artifacts themselves. Think of it like forensic archaeology. Each object, from a torn piece of fabric to a corroded canteen, becomes a crucial clue, not just telling what happened, but potentially how and why. Building upon this, the role of the park rangers in this protracted investigation becomes paramount, showcasing a commitment that transcends mere duty. Their persistent engagement with a seemingly cold case, often fueled by faint clues or unexplained anomalies, highlights a dedication to closure that is deeply ingrained in their professional ethos. Consider the immense patience and observational prowess required to follow a lead that might be as subtle as an unusual soil disturbance or a faint pattern of wear on a rock face, indicating decades of undisturbed passage. This is not the dramatic chase of a fictional detective. It is the slow, deliberate work of understanding a landscape that guards its secrets fiercely. Their efforts are often solitary, conducted far from the public eye, driven by a profound sense of responsibility to those who ventured into the park and never returned. The rangers are, in essence, the custodians of these unresolved narratives, tasked with piecing together fractured stories from the whispers of the wind and the silent testimony of the earth. Consequently, their methodical approach, often involving extensive research into historical park records, anecdotal accounts, and geological surveys, becomes the bedrock upon which any factual understanding of the event can be built. Furthermore, the very concept of evidence takes on a unique character in such extreme environments. Unlike a controlled crime scene, Yellowstone's wilderness is a dynamic, ever-changing entity. Weathering, animal activity, and the sheer passage of time can degrade or obliterate human traces with astonishing speed. A footprint can be washed away by rain, a discarded item can be buried by snow or soil, and even skeletal remains can be scattered by scavengers or decomposed by natural processes. Therefore, the survival of the couple's belongings in the cave is, in itself, a remarkable anomaly, a testament to the specific microclimatic conditions that preserved them. This rarity underscores the immense challenge faced by investigators, distinguishing between natural decay and signs of human intervention, and interpreting these fragments within a context where environmental forces are the primary agents of change. Conversely, the preservation of these items allows for a more concrete reconstruction of events, moving beyond mere conjecture to a grounded understanding of their final experiences. Another crucial layer to consider is the psychological impact of such prolonged ambiguity on the families and loved ones left behind. For 30 years, they have lived with an unanswered question, a gaping wound that time could not fully heal. This enduring uncertainty can manifest in various ways: a persistent hope for a miraculous return, a gnawing guilt over perceived missed opportunities to intervene, or a deep-seated anger at the indifferent wilderness. The discovery, while potentially bringing sorrow, also offers a form of resolution, a definitive answer that, however painful, finally allows for a process of grieving and acceptance. Now imagine the complex emotional landscape as they confront the tangible remnants of their loved ones' final days. This confrontation is not merely about seeing objects, it is about reconnecting with a past that was shrouded in mystery, and finally bringing a sense of closure to a chapter that had remained agonizingly open for far too long. This aspect highlights how such mysteries resonate far beyond the immediate geographical location, impacting human lives and relationships across vast distances and extended periods. The lingering ambiguity surrounding the couple's fate, now partially illuminated by the discovery, underscores the profound psychological toll that unresolved mysteries inflict upon those left behind. For 30 years, their families and friends have navigated a landscape of uncertainty, a perpetual state of limbo, where closure remained an elusive phantom. This enduring lack of definitive knowledge can fracture the grieving process, preventing the natural progression through stages of acceptance and healing. Imagine the constant gnawing ache of unanswered questions. Was there a moment they could have been saved? Did they suffer? Did they die alone? These unarticulated anxieties can become a permanent fixture, subtly influencing decisions, relationships, and one's overall outlook on life. The human psyche, in its quest for understanding and meaning, often struggles to reconcile itself with the arbitrary nature of such events, leading to a prolonged and often debilitating emotional burden. The discovery, therefore, is not merely an academic exercise for investigators. It represents a potential turning point for those who have carried the weight of this mystery for decades, offering the possibility of a definitive, albeit somber, resolution that can finally initiate the process of genuine mourning. Furthermore, the scientific methods employed in the analysis of discovered artifacts offer a fascinating glimpse into how modern forensics can illuminate past events. The preservation of organic materials within the cave, shielded from the harsh elements, presents a unique opportunity for detailed scientific examination. Consider the potential for radiocarbon dating of any organic fibers found, establishing a precise timeline for their presence in the cave. Advanced DNA analysis, if applicable to any biological traces, could confirm their identities beyond doubt, solidifying the connection between the discovered remains and the missing individuals. Even the analysis of geological samples from the cave could reveal environmental conditions at the time of their demise, such as atmospheric composition or temperature fluctuations, providing crucial context for their struggle. This scientific rigor transforms the discovery from mere anecdotal evidence into a corpus of factual data, allowing for a more objective and less speculative reconstruction of their final experiences. It's a process of scientific detective work, where the smallest molecular clue can unlock decades of silence. Conversely, the narrative surrounding such disappearances is often shaped by societal archetypes and ingrained cultural narratives about the wild. Yellowstone, as a symbol of untamed nature, often becomes the antagonist in these stories, a force that either tests human mettle or tragically overwhelms it. This framing can, inadvertently, overshadow the agency and experiences of the individuals themselves. The couple were not passive victims of the wilderness. They were active participants, making choices, navigating challenges, and experiencing a range of emotions. The discovery of their belongings, particularly any personal writings or photographs, allows for a more nuanced understanding of their individual journeys, moving beyond the simplistic dichotomy of human versus nature. It allows us to see them as complex individuals facing extraordinary circumstances, their story not solely defined by their demise, but also by the life they lived and the choices they made leading up to that point. This shift in perspective is crucial for honoring their memory in a way that transcends the sensationalism often associated with wilderness mysteries. Another critical layer involves the ethical considerations surrounding the public dissemination of such sensitive information. While the discovery offers closure, it also brings a potentially painful reality to light. The media's portrayal of the event, the public's fascination with the macabre, and the impact on the grieving families all demand careful consideration. Striking a balance between informing the public and respecting the privacy and emotional well-being of those most affected is a delicate ethical tightrope. The narrative must be handled with sensitivity, focusing on the human element of the story, the love, the adventure, and the ultimate tragedy, rather than sensationalizing the details of their demise. It's about acknowledging the profound sadness of their fate, while also celebrating the life they lived and the enduring power of their connection, ensuring that their story is remembered with dignity and respect, rather than as a mere curiosity. The discovery of the couple's remains within the secluded cave, while providing a tangible endpoint to their decades-long absence, simultaneously opens a new frontier of inquiry, the intricate ecological processes that govern their final resting place and the subsequent preservation of their belongings. Beyond the immediate human drama, the cave itself acted as a unique environmental microcosm, its specific conditions dictating the rate and nature of decomposition and artifact degradation. Now consider how factors such as consistent low temperatures, minimal air circulation, and the absence of moisture, or conversely, a specific level of humidity, could have dramatically influenced the preservation of organic materials. For instance, in an arid cave environment, leather goods might have desiccated and become brittle, while fabrics could have slowly disintegrated. In a more humid setting, however, the potential for fungal growth and bacterial decomposition would have been significantly higher, potentially obscuring finer details or even consuming softer tissues. Understanding these precise ecological dynamics allows us to move beyond mere speculation about where they were found to a more scientific appreciation of how they were preserved, offering a deeper insight into the interplay between biology, geology, and the passage of time. This scientific lens reveals the cave not as a passive tomb, but as an active participant in the slow, deliberate process of archival. Furthermore, the presence of any surviving flora or fauna within or immediately surrounding the cave offers a secondary layer of ecological information, acting as a time-stamped environmental record. Imagine discovering specific types of mosses or lichens that only grow under particular geological conditions, or evidence of insect activity that indicates a stable, undisturbed environment for an extended period. Even the skeletal remains of small animals, such as bats or rodents, could provide clues about the cave's ecosystem and its stability over the decades. These biological indicators, when meticulously analyzed by paleontologists or ecologists, can help corroborate the timeline suggested by the human artifacts, or even offer independent verification of the duration of the cave's undisturbed state. This interwoven tapestry of biological and geological evidence transforms the discovery site into a rich repository of scientific data, allowing researchers to reconstruct not only the human narrative, but also the broader environmental context in which it unfolded. It's a multidisciplinary approach that seeks to understand the complete story, from the geological formation of the refuge to the biological processes that governed its long-term preservation. Conversely, the process of excavating and preserving the discovered items presents its own set of scientific challenges and ethical considerations. Once exposed to the ambient air and light of the outside world, artifacts that have remained stable for decades can begin to degrade rapidly. This necessitates immediate specialized conservation efforts, often involving controlled environments and meticulous handling techniques to prevent further damage. Think of the delicate process of stabilizing fragile textiles, or the careful extraction of any remaining biological material without compromising its integrity for future DNA analysis. This phase of the investigation requires a collaborative effort between field researchers, forensic anthropologists, and conservation scientists, each bringing their unique expertise to ensure that these invaluable remnants of a human story are preserved for study and remembrance. The transition from the cave's stable, protected environment to the more dynamic conditions of a laboratory is a critical juncture, demanding a sophisticated understanding of material science and preservation protocols to safeguard this fragile link to the past. It's a race against time, where scientific precision is paramount in securing the integrity of the evidence for generations to come. The discovery within the cave, while providing a physical resolution to a protracted mystery, also serves as a stark reminder of the inherent unpredictability of scientific investigation, particularly when dealing with the vagaries of natural preservation. The very elements that allowed for the prolonged existence of the couple's belongings, the stable temperature, the lack of direct sunlight, the specific atmospheric composition, also introduce unique challenges for forensic analysis. Now consider the delicate task of extracting and preserving these artifacts. Once removed from their hermetically sealed environment, they are immediately subjected to the dynamic forces of the external world. Fluctuations in humidity, exposure to new microbial agents, and changes in light intensity. These environmental shifts can trigger rapid deterioration, turning fragile textiles to dust or causing delicate paper documents to crumble. Consequently, the initial moments after discovery are critical, demanding immediate, specialized intervention by trained conservators. Picture the meticulous process of stabilizing a piece of ancient fabric with stabilizing solutions, or the painstaking effort required to photograph and document every artifact in situ before any attempt is made at removal. This careful choreography between discovery and preservation is essential to ensure that these tangible links to the past are not lost in the very act of being brought to light. Building upon this, the scientific analysis of any biological traces found presents its own unique set of complexities, especially when dealing with materials that have undergone prolonged decomposition. While DNA extraction from ancient remains is a well-established field, the success rates can vary dramatically depending on the initial condition of the sample and the environmental factors it has endured. Think about the potential for DNA degradation due to microbial activity or hydrolysis over 3 decades. Researchers must employ highly sensitive techniques to isolate and amplify even minute fragments of genetic material, carefully controlling for contamination that could skew results. Furthermore, the interpretation of any findings requires a deep understanding of population genetics and anthropological data to accurately contextualize the results. For instance, determining the geographical origins or familial relationships of the individuals based on their DNA requires comparison against extensive genetic databases, a process that is itself an ongoing scientific endeavor. This intricate scientific process underscores that the discovery is not an endpoint, but rather the beginning of a new phase of rigorous investigation, one that relies on cutting-edge technology and expert interpretation to unlock the full story. Conversely, the narrative surrounding such disappearances often becomes intertwined with a romanticized view of the wilderness, where nature is portrayed as an almost sentient antagonist. While Yellowstone's power is undeniable, this perspective can sometimes overshadow the agency and personal narratives of the individuals involved. The couple were not merely passive figures consumed by an indifferent landscape. They were individuals with their own hopes, plans, and potentially their own strategies for survival. The discovery of personal effects, such as journals or photographs, offers a crucial opportunity to shift the focus from the abstract forces of nature to the concrete human experience. Now, imagine delving into a water-damaged diary, deciphering faded ink that speaks of dwindling rations, moments of fear, but perhaps also shared resilience and unwavering affection. These personal accounts move the story beyond a simple tragedy of being lost and instead illuminate the human spirit's capacity for endurance, love, and connection even in the face of profound adversity. It allows for a more complete and respectful portrayal of their lives, celebrating their adventurous spirit rather than solely focusing on their tragic end. Another crucial layer involves the ethical implications of publicly disseminating such deeply personal and potentially sorrowful information. While the scientific community may view the findings as a triumph of investigative rigor, for the families involved, it marks the final confirmation of a long-held fear. Therefore, the responsible reporting and handling of this discovery are paramount. Consider the potential impact of sensationalized media coverage on individuals who have already endured decades of uncertainty and grief. It is imperative that the narrative emphasizes empathy and respect, focusing on the human story of love, adventure, and loss rather than exploiting the tragic aspects for morbid curiosity. The objective is to provide closure and honor the memory of the individuals, ensuring that their story is told with dignity, acknowledging the profound sadness of their fate while celebrating the life they shared and the enduring mystery that their disappearance presented. This careful consideration of the human element ensures that the scientific pursuit of truth is balanced with compassion and ethical responsibility. Reflecting on this journey thus far, we've navigated the intricate currents of a mystery that for decades remained cloaked in the vastness of Yellowstone. The echoes of youthful adventure set against a backdrop of awe-inspiring yet indifferent natural grandeur have resonated through our exploration. We've considered how the very essence of such a wild landscape shapes human experience, offering both profound connection and an unnerving capacity for the unknown. The threads of love, loss, and the enduring power of nature have been woven together not as isolated elements, but as interwoven strands that define the human encounter with forces far beyond our immediate control. The story has unfolded not just through facts and timelines, but through the subtle yet potent implications of human presence, within an environment that operates on an entirely different, more ancient rhythm. As we pivot towards the final reflection, consider the convergence of these explored ideas. The delicate balance between human aspiration and the raw, untamed power of the natural world. The silent testament of time and geology in preserving fragments of human stories, and the profound, often lingering impact of unresolved enigmas on the human psyche and the pursuit of knowledge. The landscape itself, from its hidden recesses to its sweeping vistas, has acted as a silent narrator, its geological whispers and ecological processes contributing to the unfolding narrative. The journey has illustrated how the pursuit of understanding, even in the face of profound mystery, is a fundamentally human endeavor, driven by a need to connect the past with the present and to find meaning in the face of the inexplicable. The cumulative effect of these insights paints a richer, more nuanced picture, moving beyond simple cause and effect to embrace the complex interplay of human agency and environmental influence. These considerations now converge, not to offer a final pronouncement, but to prepare the ground for a broader contemplation. The exploration has illuminated how the wilderness, in its magnificent indifference, can serve as both a stage for human drama and a crucible for the enduring power of nature's mysteries. The journey has underscored the inherent fragility of human presence against the backdrop of geological time and ecological resilience. As we stand at the precipice of concluding this exploration, the accumulated understanding invites a final perspective on how such enduring enigmas shape our perception of the world, our place within it, and the very nature of discovery itself, all within the context of a landscape that has held its secrets with such profound tenacity. The wild heart of Yellowstone, for so long a silent keeper of its secrets, has, through the slow, inexorable hand of time and the dedicated persistence of human curiosity, begun to yield a fragment of its profound mystery. The discovery within that hidden cave, more than just the unearthing of lost belongings, is a poignant testament to the enduring power of the human spirit to seek, to connect, and ultimately to leave an indelible, albeit often tragically interrupted, mark upon the world. This story, once a chilling whisper carried on the wind, now speaks with a more resonant, though no less somber voice. It reminds us that even in the face of nature's overwhelming scale and profound indifference, the threads of love and adventure can weave a narrative that, though cut short, continues to hold sway over our imagination and our understanding of what it means to be human. The raw, primal landscape, which once seemed to swallow the couple whole, has, in its own time and through its own processes, offered up a silent chronicle of their final days, a time capsule frozen not just in moments, but in the very essence of their journey. This narrative, stretching from the hopeful dawn of their expedition to the quiet revelation within the earth, serves as a powerful metaphor for our own quests for meaning and connection. We too venture into the unknown, driven by a desire to explore, to love, and to leave our own legacies, often unaware of the silent forces that might shape our paths or the eventual custodians of our stories. The enduring power of this tale lies not just in the resolution of a mystery, but in the profound empathy it evokes, a recognition of shared vulnerability and the universal human yearning for understanding. Yellowstone, in its untamed majesty, continues to hold countless other stories, each waiting for its own moment of revelation, reminding us that the world is a repository of forgotten narratives, each deserving of our curiosity and respect. Ultimately, the true practice begins now, not in dwelling on the tragic end, but in embracing the spirit of exploration and connection that defined the couple's initial journey. It is in understanding that the wild heart of nature, much like the human heart, holds depths we may never fully comprehend, yet which beckon us nonetheless. Let this story be a gentle nudge, a reminder to cherish the moments of adventure, the bonds of love, and the profound beauty that surrounds us, while always acknowledging the enduring mysteries that lie just beyond the edge of our knowing, held safe within the untamed embrace of the world.